Hello class, welcome to the first in a series of feature introductions for the different features that you'll be seeing within the Microsoft Office products that we'll be going over this semester. This one is an introduction to some of the items in Excel. These videos are meant to supplement what you can also see within the ebook modules as well as what you see within the SAM training and SAM exam. I won't be going through all of the features at detail. I'm just going to focus on the ones that I believe need a little extra effort or a little extra introduction than what you would normally see in the other parts of the units. So this one is just getting started with Excel, very general stuff. If you've ever used Excel before, none of this should come as a surprise, but it's good to see if you've not used this product before. So this week in the textbook project, you're going to be making a spreadsheet that ultimately looks like this at the end of the textbook project. And you can see it's a spreadsheet with numbers and coloring and styling, and you'll also be making this pie chart. So just getting started, the first thing you're going to want to do is launch Excel. And I've just got a new session of Excel launched here, and what I want to do is just choose a blank workbook. And when you open Excel in a blank workbook, this is what you see. This area at the top of the window is called the ribbon, and there are a lot of items here that you can do in Excel. They organize it by using these different menus at the top. So you can see I'm on the home menu right now. These are the most commonly used features. You can also click on insert, which is things where you would be inserting items into your spreadsheet, page layout, formulas, etc. We'll be going over a lot of this stuff throughout the coming modules, but just be aware that clicking on these actually changes the options that you see in your ribbon. So going back to the home, what I'm going to show you first is how to make a cell active. I can use the mouse or use the arrow keys, and then you'll see that the active cell has a heavy border around it. So looking at my spreadsheet, you can see that currently I'm in cell A1. If I move my mouse to the next cell down and click, I am now in cell A2. When I say A2, it's because it's column A, row 2. If I click on this cell, I'm now in column B, row 2 as well. And you can always see the cell that's currently selected up here in the name box. You can actually edit this directly. So if I wanted to go into cell C5, I could just type C5, hit enter, and it'll put me in that cell. And you can again always see which cell is active because it has a dark border around it. The first thing you're going to be doing in the textbook project is entering a title for your spreadsheet that you'll be creating. So if I'm in Excel, I can go into a cell and then I can start just typing text. So I'm in cell A1 and I want to type in some text. I just start typing, and you can see it's appearing on the screen as I type. It also shows up here in this box at the top of the window. Once I hit enter, it will commit that text to the cell, and when I hit enter, it has now moved me down into the next row. And I can now put text in this row. And you can see that it puts it into the cell. If I'm in that cell and I hit my arrow key, I can also commit the text to the cell. So I hit my right arrow, and you can see that it moved me into cell B2, and now my text is saved in cell A2. I can also hit the down arrow key if I want to commit. So if I hit the down arrow, you'll see that it committed that to the cell. Also enter text by using that window at the top of the screen that I was talking about. So if I'm in cell A4, I can actually come up here and I can start typing text. And you'll see that the text is there in this window at the top that I've typed into, and it also shows in cell A4. And I can just hit this checkbox to commit that text to keep it in the cell. So you'll notice that I've shown you multiple ways to do the same thing. That's going to be a theme. Microsoft Office products often have a multitude of ways to do the same thing. So I will sometimes try to show you multiple ways, and whichever one you're most comfortable with or makes most sense to you is the way you'll want to do your spreadsheet work. So I've entered some text. You can also enter numbers into the cell. So if I want to go into a cell here and I just want to start typing in numbers, you can see that it just enters it just like it would text. And I can just continue to do that. I can keep typing in text, hitting enter, and it'll keep entering it, just the same as you would with text. You can see that numbers are often right aligned and text is often left aligned by default. Now that I've entered some numbers, I can start doing some math with my spreadsheet. So if I want to sum a column of numbers, I go to the empty cell below that column of numbers, and then I'll show you the sum button on the home tab, and it'll very quickly add up that information. So I'm going to go to the bottom of that list of numbers, and then I'm already on the home tab as it said in the PowerPoint, and then I can use this feature called auto sum, and then I can hit the pull down, choose sum, and then it'll automatically add up those numbers for me. So very quickly I can add up as many numbers as I want in a list by using this auto sum feature or hitting the small down arrow next to it and choosing what I want. Perhaps instead of sum I might have wanted average, and I can change that to an average of the three numbers in the column. If I want to copy text across from one cell to multiple cells, I can do that. In the textbook project this week, you'll be doing that with the sum that you just created. So for instance, if I had, instead of just one column of numbers, I had many numbers, and remember, this is the one that I did the sum on earlier. I can grab this bottom square on the bottom right corner of the cell. You can see that my cursor changes when I get over that spot on the cell. Click my mouse and hold it down, and I can drag it across, and you see that my box is extending. And I've moved it over to the two other columns that I have of numbers. When I let up on it, it will copy that cell's formula into the other two cells. So this one is adding up this column of numbers, this one is adding up this column of numbers, and this one is adding up this column of numbers. It allows me to very quickly copy formulas across, and you can do this up and down as well, but in this case I'm copying it across. So the AutoSum feature also lets you do very quickly a multitude of rows and columns. I did the drag across that you saw. But if I wanted to, let's say, add up all of these rows very quickly, I can actually drag down here and create. So I clicked with my mouse and I drug down and highlighted this whole column. I can go to my Home tab, as I already did before, and I can do sum. And Excel will figure out, based on where I am and the information around me, that I wanted to sum up this row going across. And I've summed up this row going across, this row, all very quickly. So I now have a row of sums, and I have a column of sums of all of these numbers. And then I have a grand total here in the bottom corner. So I've shown you how to use the AutoSum feature, but there is a multitude of different formulas that you can use in Excel, and you'll learn several of these as we go through the class, and as you continue to use Excel, you will continue to find more and more formulas that you find valuable. But you can type them in directly instead of just using the AutoSum feature. So if I wanted to just add up this, I can directly type a formula into the cell. Now, whenever you're doing a formula, you have to start it with an equal sign. That tells Excel that you are trying to use a formula. And now, if I want to do a sum, I can just type in sum, and then I put parentheses in, and then it tries to guide me, saying, what do you want to sum up? And it says number 1, number 2, etc., etc. So if I want to sum up some of these cells, I can say sum cell I1, and you see once I typed it in, it automatically shaded it for me. And then I can do a comma, and then do cell I2, and you see once I typed that, it highlighted that. I3, I4, I5, and I6. And then once you're all done, you can put an end parentheses in it and hit enter, and it will add up all those cells for you. So I did all of that directly on the keyboard. Another thing I could have done that would have resulted in the same thing is if I do an equal sign again, type in sum, hit my parentheses, I can take my mouse and click and drag, click, hold, and drag down to highlight all of the cells I want to sum. And then I put my end parentheses in and I'll hit enter. And you can see it says I1 colon I6. That means give me the range, or sum up the range between these two cells. Hit enter, and you can see it's the same result. That's all for this first introduction module, or introduction of features presentation. I'll be continuing in another one to show you how to format your spreadsheet so it looks nicer.